Hi, welcome to the Dreamy Lab. I'm really glad you're here tonight. Maybe something quiet or curious led you in. Whatever it was, I hope this little journey helps you slow down. Feel a little lighter. And gently drift off to sleep. Today we dive into the topic, how cave has its own universe. The cave begins where the light fades. Beyond the surface lies a silence older than sound. A world untouched by wind or warmth. Where life rewrites its story. In the absence of the sun. You arrive at the edge of the known world, where light begins to hesitate. Behind you is the open sky, wind, birdsong, warmth, and before you, a shadow that doesn't simply block light but swallows it whole. You step forward, slowly, as if crossing into a new kind of time. The air cools around you, thickens in your lungs. The sounds of the surface fall behind like forgotten language. And just like that, you enter the cave. This is not just beneath the earth. It is beneath memory. Beneath noise. Beneath hurry. Your eyes strain for detail, but the world around you resists being seen. It doesn't reach for you. It waits for you to come closer, to slow down, to match its breathless tempo. The cave does not shout. It does not beckon. It simply exists, with or without you. And already, you are no longer a visitor. You are a listener. Here, the rules are different. The sun does not reign. It has no voice here, no role. All the things that rely on sunlight, leaves, colors, shadows, have no place. This is a world that survived by turning away from the sky. It carved its own path, deeper and quieter. Time here isn't a ticking clock. It's a layering of stillness. It's water dripping from the same stone for centuries. It's a breath that takes generations to exhale. And as you walk deeper, your body begins to align with it. You notice how your footsteps soften, how your breath slows. Every sound you make returns to you slightly different, shaped by stone, as if the cave were echoing not just your voice, but your presence. A gentle drip, somewhere far ahead, marks the pace like a pulse. Drip, pause. Drip, again. That tiny rhythm has continued longer than entire civilizations have lasted. It is the cave's heartbeat, unbothered, unchanging, unafraid. Your flashlight traces the walls and ceiling, revealing forms that look like frozen waterfalls and melting stone. But nothing here is frozen. Nothing is truly still. The cave grows, reshapes, rearranges itself in ways too slow for the eye to witness. Over millennia, minerals carried by dripping water build sculptures taller than trees. Stalactites descend from the ceiling like slow lightning. Stalagmites rise like stone prayers from the floor. And when they meet, they fuse into columns older than history. Every inch of this place is built from patience. No force. No violence. Just the quiet persistence of time. You reach out and touch the wall, cool, rough, and faintly damp. You are not touching rock. You are touching centuries of unseen rain. You are touching the memory of weather, filtered through soil, carried downward until it became part of something permanent. The cave does not remember like we do. It doesn't hold names or faces or dates. But it remembers in shape, in chemistry, in slow transformation. Its memory is mineral. Its language is structure. To understand it, you don't look, you feel. You wait. You become part of the stillness. Creatures live here, too, though you won't see most of them. They are not like the animals above. They have given up the surface's priorities, speed, color, vision. In the dark, there's no need for eyes. No reason for bright patterns. So they have traded them for other skills, heightened touch, sharper smell, the ability to survive on next to nothing. Some haven't eaten in weeks, and they're fine. Some move only when absolutely necessary. And some, like the blind cave fish, have rerouted their entire nervous systems to better navigate this gentle night. This is a place where evolution whispers. Above ground, change is fast, dramatic, loud. But down here, it is subtle and deep, like currents under the ocean. Species stretch themselves slowly into forms better suited for the silence. Every limb, every sensor, every heartbeat is shaped by constraint. And in that constraint, life becomes beautiful, not in excess, but in refinement. Nothing wasted. Nothing extra. Just enough. You walk deeper, and the light behind you disappears. There is no turning back now, not emotionally. The tunnel narrows, then opens again. You find yourself in a chamber wide and echoing, the floor damp, the air colder still. There's something vast in the darkness, something that doesn't move, but doesn't feel dead either. The cave isn't lifeless. It's simply quiet in a way that feels alive. You sit down on a smooth stone ledge. No wind. No birds. Just the sound of water and your own breath. The silence here isn't empty. It's full, of time, of presence, of unspoken things. You begin to feel that you are not exploring the cave, but that the cave is exploring you. It watches not with eyes, but with temperature, with sound, with echo. It accepts you. Not warmly. Not coldly. Just, completely. You wonder what this place looked like 1,000 years ago. You realize, almost exactly the same. While nations rose and fell, while maps changed shape, this space remained. The drip still dripped. The roots still reached down through stone. The fish still swam in blind circles. The cave is not frozen in time. It is time, moving slower than the mind can measure. You rise, not to leave, but to drift deeper into stillness. To follow the path not forward, but downward. Where silence grows thick. And life begins to glow without the sun. Drip by drip, water writes the cave. Each droplet carries a fragment of mountain. Each crystal forms a sentence in the language of time. In this silence, stone grows like breath. Slow, steady, and forever unfinished. You move deeper, and the floor becomes smoother, more deliberate, as if shaped not by accident but intention. Around you, the cave opens into a chamber that feels almost sacred. Here, the walls breathe with form, twisted curtains of flowstone, delicate blades of stalactite suspended like icicles too patient to fall. Everything is shaped not by hands, but by the gentlest force in the world, water. Not a flood. Not a rush. Just drops. Thousands, millions of them. Falling. 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 And in their fall, they build. Above you, a single droplet gathers on the tip of a long, slender stalactite. It clings to the edge like thought hesitating to become language. Then, it falls. It lands on a mound below, a growing stalagmite, and leaves behind a faint trace of mineral. That one drop, invisible to the eye, has added to the pillar's height. Not by much. A few atoms, perhaps. But repeat that act 1 billion times, and you get a tower. A bridge. A column older than language. This is architecture without architects. Structure born of rhythm. Design made by gravity and time. The water that builds these forms begins on the surface. Rain seeps into the ground, moving through roots, soil, and stone. Along the way, it gathers minerals, calcium, carbon, the fine dust of ancient seabeds now fossilized in the crust. By the time it enters the cave, it carries more than moisture. It carries memory. When it falls and dries, it leaves behind what it brought, a trace of mountain, a fingerprint of sky. In this way, the cave is not sealed off from the world above. It is connected. But it receives everything slowly. Translated through the language of stone. Nothing rushes here. There is no hurry to grow. No deadline. The formations are not made in a day, a year, or even a lifetime. Some take tens of thousands of years to reach a single meter in height. You are looking at stone in motion, at sculpture still becoming. You run your fingers along a wall that looks like a frozen waterfall. It's not cold, just smooth and oddly alive. These rippling layers are called flowstone, formed by water that moves not in drops, but in thin sheets, gliding over rock, leaving behind curtain-like waves of calcite. They look like fabric caught in wind. But there's no wind here. Only the slow, steady breath of water and stone. Scientists call this speleogenesis, the birth and growth of cave formations. But the cave does not care for words. It speaks in shape and silence. In the width of a crystal, in the angle of a drop. If you could listen long enough, if your ears were tuned to geological time, you would hear it forming syllables, not in sound, but in structure. Not spoken, but grown. There's a ledge near your feet where small pearls of calcite have gathered. Cave pearls, perfectly rounded, shaped by water droplets tumbling over grains of sand in shallow pools. They don't roll often, just enough to polish themselves smooth. Nature does not rush perfection. These pearls may take centuries to form, but they never stop becoming. You crouch near them and watch the water shimmer. Every glint is a reflection of something ancient. Maybe a mineral laid down when the continents were still shifting. Maybe a speck of dust from a volcano 1,000 miles away. Every drop is a world. In the absence of sun, life finds another way to see. Without eyes or leaves or colors. It grows slowly, breathes softly. And learns to thrive in permanent night. You've now spent long enough in the cave to feel it, not just around you, but within you. The darkness no longer feels like absence. It feels like presence. A fullness. A quiet kind of pressure that wraps around your thoughts like velvet. And within that velvet, something stirs. Something delicate. Alive. You are not alone in this silence. The cave is not lifeless. It is not still. But its life moves so gently, so cautiously, that to notice it, you must become just as still. You sit down, slow your breathing, let your ears and skin reach into the air. You don't hear footsteps. You don't hear wings. But you feel something shifting, tiny scratches on stone, faint ripples in water, the hush of things learning to survive without light. Above ground, life is written in sunlight. Green leaves, bright feathers, eyes that widen in the day and narrow by night. But here, none of those things matter. Here, sunlight never comes. And so life rewrote its script. It let go of the need to be seen. It turned inward. It grew in the dark. A small beetle moves across the rock near your foot. Pale, nearly translucent. Its body glistens slightly with moisture. It has no eyes, just long, delicate antennae that sweep the ground like fingers. Each tap and brush gathers information. Texture, temperature, scent. It doesn't need to see where it's going. It only needs to feel what's near. You hold your breath as it passes, marveling at the grace of its simplicity. It doesn't waste energy. It doesn't rush. It knows exactly what it needs and nothing more. That's the first law of life in the cave, waste nothing. With so little energy available, efficiency is everything. Most cave creatures move slowly. They eat rarely. They grow over years, not months. Their metabolism is tuned to scarcity. And yet, they survive, some of them for decades, on diets that would starve anything above ground. You begin to understand that this place isn't barren. It's precise. A cluster of tiny crickets chirp softly in the distance. Their song is high and irregular, almost electronic, echoing off the stone in a strange, beautiful pattern. You follow the sound until you find them, small, pale, spindly-legged. Like the beetle, their bodies are adapted for darkness. Thin limbs, long antennae, sensitive feet. They feel the world through vibration. Every movement is a message. These crickets eat detritus, bat droppings, fallen leaves brought in by water, and the occasional unlucky insect. They are the cave's recyclers, breaking down organic matter into forms that fungi and bacteria can feed on. Nothing is wasted. One creature's waste is another's survival. It's not a chain of life. It's a circle. You shine your light onto a patch of cave wall that glows faintly with slime mold, an organism that is neither plant nor animal, but something in between. It stretches in slow, amoeba-like tendrils, feeding on the invisible remains of other organisms. It doesn't move quickly, but it explores. It adapts. It remembers paths through food sources and avoids areas it's already cleared. You watch it ripple, almost too slowly to perceive. But it's moving. It's learning. These are the kinds of life that the surface forgets. They are not majestic. They are not loud. But they are astonishing. To survive in total darkness, on minimal energy, with no clear seasons or rhythms, this requires a brilliance beyond what we usually admire. It is not the brilliance of speed or strength. It is the brilliance of subtlety. Of knowing how to last. You follow a narrow tunnel and find a small underground pool. The water is still, mirror-like. Floating just below the surface is a blind cave fish, slender, pale, and utterly adapted. It has no eyes. Where sockets once were, its skin is smooth. Its body is mapped instead by a network of pressure-sensitive cells that let it detect the faintest currents. It swims with precision, reading the cave like braille. You kneel beside it, watching it hover. It has never seen the sun, and never will. But it lives. Fully. Beautifully. You think about what it means to be alive in a world where vision has no use. Where color is meaningless. Where days and nights don't exist. And you realize, life does not depend on light. It depends on adaptation. And adaptation, here, means letting go of all that no longer serves. That's the second law of life in the cave: change everything that light once made essential. Sight, color, speed, hunger, rhythm, these must all be rewritten. And life has done so, masterfully. Every creature you've encountered here is a specialist, an artist of limitation. They've been sculpted not by abundance, but by constraint. You shine your light upward, and for a moment, catch a flicker of motion, small bats, hundreds of them, hanging from the ceiling. Their bodies twitch slightly in sleep. Some shift, stretch their wings, then return to stillness. These are one of the few cave dwellers that leave. They fly into the night to hunt, then return to rest in the safety of stone. But while they're gone, their droppings nourish everything beneath them. The beetles, the fungi, the fish. The entire food web begins with these nocturnal offerings. They are, in a way, the sun of this hidden world, bringing energy from elsewhere. There are gardens that never see the sun. No morning dew kisses their leaves. No hummingbird hovers above them. And yet, deep in the earth, beneath mountains and forests and cities, something grows. Something ancient. Something patient. This is the garden grown in darkness, a kingdom of threads and whispers, hidden far below where roots dare to reach. The walls are damp here, and the air hangs heavy like a long-held breath. Stone stretches endlessly in every direction, curling around pools and narrow passageways, its silence broken only by the rhythmic dripping of mineral-rich water. This is no place for flowers. No seeds are sown. No petals bloom. But the stone breathes with life all the same. Microscopic at first. Unseen. Then, slowly, unfurling. Fungi. Not the toadstools of fairy tales, but networks. Fine, delicate, invisible filaments called hyphae, reaching out in every direction like the veins of the cave itself. They do not seek the sun. They seek the touch of something else: rock, root, decaying insect shell, the trace of ancient water. They thread their way through the cave's bones with a patience unmatched by any plant above. And when enough of them gather, they become a web. A mind. A living memory beneath the surface. This underground world does not rely on photosynthesis. There is no chlorophyll, no harvesting of golden light. Instead, it is built on decay, on the slow, beautiful return of things to the earth. Fallen leaves swept in through cracks in the ceiling. A bat that lived its final night and dropped gently to the stone. Insects that wandered in too far. All become nourishment for the mycelial weave, the fungal lattice that stretches silently in the dark. And in some places, something remarkable happens. The fungi begin to glow. It is not a bright light. Not like the blaze of fireflies, nor the shimmer of the moon on snow. No, this glow is gentle, like the color of dreams. It pulses faintly in the blackness, a cold bioluminescence that seems more emotion than color. Foxfire, it's sometimes called. The ghost light of the woods. Here in the cave, it lives on the walls, the ceilings, the moist surfaces where fungi thrive. It is not a light to see by, it is a light that reveals itself only when everything else is gone. A lantern made of stillness. Scientists believe this glow may serve to attract insects above ground, to lure them toward decay and decomposition. But underground, there are few visitors to notice. The glow, it seems, may not be a signal at all. It may simply be an echo of a system so deeply alive that even in total darkness, it cannot help but express itself. But fungi are not the only inhabitants of this garden. In the darkest corners, where water gathers in still pools or clings in sheets to the wall, microbial mats form, complex communities of bacteria, archaea, and single-celled organisms that drift and shimmer like jelly across the stone. They feed on minerals, not sunlight. Some consume sulfur. Some even devour methane, using it as fuel to stitch together their slow, microscopic architecture. In caves where no outside matter ever enters, no leaves, no dead insects, no organic debris from the surface, these mats form the base of life's pyramid. Everything begins with them. They are chemotrophs, creatures who feast on the cave itself. And astonishingly, in some rare caves, these microbes are the only life that exists. No fish, no insects, no fungi. Just sheets of gelatinous life, pulsing slowly over ancient stone, like the breath of the planet turned inside out. There is something hauntingly beautiful in that. That the world below can mirror the world above in shape, in purpose, in structure, while remaining completely alien. There are no seasons here. No winter, no spring. Only the long now. A present that stretches back millennia. And in that stillness, life does not rush. It waits. It endures. Occasionally, animals pass through the garden, blind fish that flick past without noticing the glow, spiders that live their entire lives within a single square meter, their feet feeling every vibration in the fungal net. In some places, springtails bounce gently over mats of mold, harvesting the microfilm like harvesters in an invisible field. Everything is subtle. Everything is slow. But nothing is still. And above, hidden in cracks and hollows, bats roost in soft silence. Their guano drops below in slow cascades, providing bursts of nourishment for fungi and bacteria alike. This waste becomes wealth. What is discarded above becomes the seed of the cave's quiet bloom. In this way, the cave garden grows not from creation, but from transformation. Nothing is born fresh. Everything is inherited, repurposed, recycled in the softest possible way. Light is a stranger, but life is not. And still, the garden expands. In some caves, explorers return years later to find new webs stretching across ceilings, new mats blooming over stone that once seemed dead. Slowly, silently, the cave writes its own ecology in fine, glowing script. It reminds us that life does not require drama. It does not need glory, or green, or the roar of the sun. It can exist where no eye has ever looked. It can thrive without celebration. It can be beautiful in the dark. This is not a garden you can pick from. Not a place where petals fall. But it is alive, undeniably, quietly alive, woven of stone, water, and will. A secret breath under the world. Somewhere in the dark, a thread stretches just a little farther. Feeling blindly into stone. Seeking nothing. But finding everything. Pale as bone and soft as breath. These beings never knew the day. They navigate by touch and tremble. Wearing silence like a second skin. You are not alone in this darkness. Beneath the world, in stone corridors untouched by sky, something moves. It does not hurry. It does not blink. It does not chase the light, because it has never known it. These are creatures shaped by time and shadow, life forms that were born in darkness and chose to stay there. You kneel by a still pool. A flick of motion startles you, faint and pale. A fish, boneless in its grace, glides through the water without sound. It has no eyes. It doesn't need them. Sight would be useless here. Instead, it senses vibrations, ripples in the water, the tremble of stone, the hum of your presence. This is a troglodyte, a creature of the cave. And it is not alone. Here, in the cold hush of the earth, evolution has taken a different path. Life has not stopped, it has simply adapted. It has changed its rules. It has let go of eyes, of color, of the rhythm of day and night. Because here, there is no day. There is no night. Only always. These beings are ghosts in form only. They are not fragile. They are specialized. Sculpted by stillness. Designed by darkness. You see a spider next, clinging to a moist wall, its limbs impossibly long, its body almost transparent. It moves like a whisper, not by sight, but by the memory of motion. Its world is built from sensation, air pressure, temperature, the brushing of invisible things. You notice how everything here is long. Long antennae. Long legs. Long pauses between movement. When there is no urgency, time stretches out. Evolution favors patience over speed. Life here is built for conservation. Of energy. Of risk. Of self. You walk deeper. A cave beetle, pale as parchment, moves across your path, antennae sweeping like blind arms. Somewhere overhead, a bat stirs in its sleep, hanging like a folded thought. Insects live off fungus. The fungus lives off moisture. Bacteria coat the walls like breath made visible. Each species is part of a quiet loop. A cycle built not on sunlight, but on persistence. The cave is not empty. It is selective. These are not creatures in waiting. They are complete. They are the final draft, not the rough sketch. They do not need what we need. They do not seek the sun. They are what life becomes when it is left alone. You stop near a crevice and shine your soft light inside. There, curled beneath a lip of stone, a millipede rests, its body coiled like a question, its armor thin but precise. In another world, its kind would be red or brown, hard-shelled and quick. But here, its skin is soft, its color gone. Color has no purpose in a place without light. Here, pigment is a burden, an unnecessary cost. So over time, it fades. What remains is utility. Function. Essence. Even the bones are lighter. More efficient. The creatures here have learned how to survive with less. Less oxygen. Less movement. Less noise. And in return, they have gained something remarkable, stability. In some caves, scientists have found species that have not changed in millions of years. Frozen not by time, but by perfection. Their world hasn't asked them to evolve, so they haven't. The environment is so consistent, no seasons, no drought, no storms, that the design still fits. You are witnessing living fossils. And yet, there is vulnerability here too. Because when you live in a world that never changes, even the smallest disruption can be a catastrophe. A shaft of warm air. A drop in humidity. A flicker of human light. These things, small on the surface, can unbalance entire cave ecosystems. A flashlight can dry a wall. A boot print can collapse a mat of bacterial life. The world above may forget this place exists, but it is never immune to its touch. You begin to realize, this cave is not just another world. It's a contract. A delicate agreement between stone and life. One that took thousands of years to write. And like all the best things in nature, it endures only when respected. You begin to imagine yourself without light. Close your eyes. Extend your hands. Try to feel instead of see. You would become like them, eventually. You would tune into warmth, into texture, into the subtle shifts in air. You would learn to listen with your bones. Your breath would slow. Your steps would quiet. Given time, your body would change. Your skin would pale. Your eyes would dull. But your perception would grow sharper in other ways. You would learn the language of silence. This is what life in the cave teaches you. That survival isn't about domination. It's about harmony. About listening before speaking. About taking only what you need. And about trusting the dark. These creatures do not fear the light. They simply do not understand it. And if brought to the surface, many would not survive. The shock of warmth. The dryness. The overload of stimuli. You could carry one up with the best intentions, but even your breath might be too much. That's why these beings remain hidden. Not because they are shy. But because their entire design is built for another kind of earth, a slower, older one, where life whispers instead of shouts. You turn off your light now. You let your breath settle. You listen, not just to what's there, but to what isn't. No cars. No wind. No birds. Just the living hush of beings who have never needed the sky. You are in their world now. And for a moment, it feels sacred. Something shifts in the water beside you. A ripple with no cause you can see. No eyes watch you. Yet you feel witnessed. The darkness has never been empty. It has simply never needed light to see. Drip by drip, the cave is writing. Not in ink, but in crystal and curve. Stalactites dream in frozen descent. Marking centuries without a sound. You stand still, and above you, the ceiling seems to shimmer, not with light, but with form. Stone reaching downward, like frozen fangs, delicate and sharp. Beneath them, matching towers rise from the floor, creeping slowly upward. And where they nearly touch, something ancient stirs. Not movement, but memory. These are stalactites and stalagmites, the slow, silent signatures of time. The cave is not dead. It breathes, it grows, it builds. Not in days or seasons, but in drops. One at a time. Over centuries. The cave is carving itself. And you are standing inside a living sculpture. A single drop of water falls from the ceiling. You hear it land, a soft sound, but deliberate. That sound is not random. It's the pulse of geology. Each drop carries a grain of story. A trace of mineral, dissolved from rock above. When it hits the air, that mineral, usually calcium carbonate, settles. It stays behind. The drop vanishes, but the stone remembers it. And so, over hundreds, thousands of years, shape is born. The ceiling drips into teeth. The floor rises in tongues. And if you wait long enough, millennia, they may join. Stalactite and stalagmite become one, forming a column, a bridge of stone that no one sculpted, yet stands with quiet perfection. This is how the cave dreams. Not with thought, but with motion so slow it almost isn't motion. A breath every 100 years. A blink each millennium. These formations are not frozen. They are simply too slow to see. But they are always becoming. You begin to notice the texture. Stalactites taper like icicles, thin and glassy at the tips. Some are hollow, like straws, the water travels inside them, invisible. Others are solid, fluted, curled. Some drip like candle wax. Others twist into spirals, or layer like folded curtains. These shapes are not random. They are stories written in physics. Temperature, airflow, acidity, mineral concentration, these decide the architecture. A warmer cave will grow flowstone, wide sheets of calcite that spill across walls like frozen waterfalls. A breezy one might create delicate helictites, formations that defy gravity, curving in impossible directions like stone vines. Each cave becomes a gallery, shaped not by hands, but by breath, water, and time. You place your hand near one, but not on it. The oils from your skin could halt its growth for decades. That's how delicate these forms are. They are growing even now, even in this silence. But touch could poison them. In the cave, the lightest pressure echoes across centuries. Some of these stones are older than civilization. Older than language. Older than the first city or the first song. Inside them, scientists have found rings, just like the rings of trees. Each ring marks a season, a year, a climate. Dry years leave thinner bands. Wet years leave richer ones. Volcanic ash. Ancient drought. Shifts in Earth's orbit. All of it, recorded not in books, but in crystal. These are not just decorations. They are archives. Each drip records the chemistry of the water, and by studying these stones, we read history that no eye has seen. Caves in China, in the US, in South America, they all carry parts of Earth's story, locked into glittering spires. One stalagmite in Nevada recorded the rise and fall of rainfall over 50,000 years. Another in India showed the weakening of monsoons that changed the course of human migration. These are not just stones, they are memories made solid. And they are still writing. You sit down now, your back against cool rock. The air smells faintly of minerals, wet and ancient. The drip continues. The stones do not move, yet you can't shake the sense that they are watching. Not with eyes, but with presence. With patience. You begin to notice patterns. The rhythm of the drips. The way light catches the surface, dull in some places, glossy in others. The shine is a clue. Some layers form rapidly and stay smooth. Others form more slowly, leaving ridges like the pages of a closed book. In this way, you can see time, as if the cave has nothing to hide. And then, you see something stranger. Cave pearls, tiny, spherical stones in shallow pools. They roll when touched, like beads. But they are not crafted. They are formed, layer by layer, around grains of sand, built by dripping water and soft turbulence. Each one is unique. Each one a globe of patience. Nearby, there are soda straws, long, hollow tubes barely the width of a finger. Some hang nearly 2 meters, fragile as breath. One drop could break them. But they have hung here, unbroken, for hundreds of years. What does that say about the stillness here? About the peace? That even the most delicate of stones survives untouched for lifetimes. You begin to feel something rare. Not awe, exactly. But alignment. Like your own pace, your own thoughts, begin to slow. To match the cave's rhythm. To drift with the drip. To stretch into long moments that no longer need to hurry. There is no rush here. No noise. No obligation to become anything except what you already are. And maybe, in that way, the stones are teachers. They teach you that growth need not be loud. That change can be invisible. That becoming can be done in darkness. They show you what it means to endure. Not to resist time, but to welcome it. To let it pass through you and leave shape behind. You look up once more. The stalactites hang like frozen thoughts. The stalagmites wait like rising prayers. And in the space between them, something timeless lingers. A drop falls. Then another. The cave does not stir. But it remembers. And the stones beneath your feet continue their slow, sacred work. A word whispered in the dark returns changed. Deeper, slower, like a voice from before. In these walls, sound walks in circles. And the cave answers in its own language. You speak, and the cave listens. Your voice floats into the dark. It feels small, too small at first. But then, something strange happens. The sound comes back to you, unfamiliar, slower than you remember. It's your voice, but it's not. It's been softened, stretched, deepened, like it aged on the way back. Here, inside the earth, sound does not behave the way you're used to. It lingers. It loops. It holds on. The air is thick with stillness. The stone does not forget quickly. Every whisper you let slip will return to you, eventually, shaped by the space it passed through. You don't just hear echoes. You feel them. In your chest. In your fingertips. In your breath. This is not just an acoustic trick. It's a reminder. That even in silence, nothing truly disappears. Caves are built for echoes. Their walls are close, but never predictable. Their surfaces ripple with mineral and curve. Their passages bend and fall and rise again, creating pockets of still air, sudden chambers, and winding throats of stone. You may find yourself inside one of these chambers, round, domed, vast. You speak. Just once. One simple word. And it echoes 10 times. 15. It scatters across the ceiling like birds startled from a tree. It ricochets into another tunnel and takes the long road back to you. This phenomenon is not magic. It's physics. But in this place, physics feels like poetry. Your voice travels as a vibration, through air, yes, but also against stone. And stone, here, does not absorb sound quickly. It reflects it, sends it spinning. Every wall it touches changes it slightly. The pitch might shift. The tone might deepen. This is called acoustic diffraction, where sound bends around corners and edges, continuing even when the speaker has stopped. Your voice outlives you in a cave. For a moment, it becomes something else, part of the landscape. A ripple in the invisible. A reminder that your presence is never truly gone. In some caves, these echoes are so intense, researchers study them the way astronomers study starlight. They map out chambers based on how sound behaves. With each echo, the cave reveals its shape. In Mammoth Cave in Kentucky, some chambers produce a 5-second reverb. In Slovenia's Scotchen caves, footsteps sound like distant drums. Even a drop of water, a single drip, can be heard for miles, bouncing from one invisible wall to the next. You don't just hear that drop. You feel the weight between each fall. It becomes a rhythm you didn't know your body remembered. This is what makes caves different from the surface. Above, sound is diluted, by trees, by wind, by life. But here, the sound is bare. It is clean, unfiltered, and sometimes, overwhelming. If you stay long enough, your ears begin to adjust. Not to loudness, but to layers. You start to notice the softness of your own breath, the whisper of your skin against your clothing, the tiny scrape of your foot against a grain of dust. The cave doesn't just amplify sound, it teaches you to listen again. Even your heart, in this quiet, feels louder. Not pounding. Just, present. And something happens to your mind. Because sound here is not just vibration, it's time. A slow unfolding of presence. You begin to understand why early humans painted here. Why they sang. Why they carved marks on the wall and waited to hear them echo. They weren't performing. They were listening. To something bigger than themselves. To a response that came from the earth itself. Some call this kind of space resonant, where sound and shape align. Like when a violin body makes a string come alive. The cave is the violin now. And your body? It's the string. You speak again. But softer this time. Not to hear your voice, but to feel the return. You don't need a language. A hum will do. A sigh. Even silence has a sound in here, an ambient pressure, a warm hush that holds your thoughts before you form them. In some sacred caves, this resonance becomes spiritual. A chant held just long enough begins to vibrate with the stone. It's not illusion, it's physics meeting emotion. Your sound bouncing into the curve of the chamber, amplified just right, becomes something bigger. Something more than you. Even monks and mystics have sought this. Underground temples exist in parts of India, carved by hand into resonant rock. Not for decoration. Not for grandeur. But for sound. For listening to stillness until it sang. In lava tubes and limestone caverns, researchers are now studying these same echoes, using sound to map hidden parts of caves without even stepping into them. With sonar pulses, with echo chambers too tight for humans. They listen for distortions, for delays. Every second of echo becomes a fingerprint of the cave's shape. But science is only part of the story. Because even with data, with waveforms and graphs, no one can fully explain what it feels like. What it feels like when the cave speaks back. And sometimes, it doesn't. In the deepest parts of the earth, sound disappears. Not into noise, but into stillness so perfect that it becomes its own kind of presence. In places like Dead Silence Cavern in New Mexico, sound is swallowed whole. You speak, and nothing returns. No echo. No whisper. Just still air, unmoved. It is not silence. It is a silence that watches you. Your mind fills the void. You begin to hear your own thoughts louder than before. Not metaphorically. Physically. Because your brain, deprived of input, begins to raise its volume. And so even your own thinking becomes an echo. That's the lesson of the cave. The deeper you go, the louder your inner voice becomes. This echo, this reverb, this resonance, it is not decoration. It is not a side effect. It is the cave's memory. The way it remembers that you were here. Your voice may fade. But your vibration lingers. You speak one last time, soft, unsure, and the sound disappears around a bend. You wait. Not for an answer. But for a feeling. And the cave answers with silence. In the cave's silence, science listens. Far from sunlight, truth drips slowly. Particles, fossils, ancient air. The cave is Earth's secret archive. You descend deeper, and something in the air changes. Not colder. Not darker. Just, quieter. This is not the quiet of absence. It's the quiet of attention, like the cave is holding its breath, listening with stone ears, collecting every whisper for safekeeping. You didn't expect to find science here. There are no beeping machines or glowing screens. But look closer. This place, silent, ancient, slow, is one of Earth's most powerful laboratories. Not built, but formed. Not powered by electricity, but by time. Here, beneath the surface, Earth keeps its secrets. Every drip of water, every mineral trace, every fossil, every echo, it's all data. Every curve of a stalagmite is a logbook. Every pool is an archive. Every layer of stone is a timestamp. You are standing inside an encyclopedia, carved in calcium and silence. You run your hand near a wall, not touching, just sensing. Somewhere inside this rock is a record. Of rainfall. Of volcanic ash. Of ancient droughts. It's not written in ink, but in layers. Thin bands of calcite or aragonite, laid down drop by drop, season by season. Like tree rings. Only older. Wiser. Scientists call these cave formations speleothems. And inside them, isotopes sleep, oxygen, carbon, uranium, tiny atomic clues that reveal the climate of Earth long before we kept written history. With the right tools, you can measure these ratios, and what you get is a timeline. A fingerprint of ancient air. From caves in Borneo to Brazil, researchers have read these rings and traced back over 500,000 years of Earth's climate. They've discovered when monsoons weakened, when oceans cooled, when continents dried. They've even found hints of past civilizations, tucked inside the chemistry, stories of how empires rose and fell with the rhythm of rain. The cave remembers what we forget. You walk farther in. Your footsteps are soft now, reverent. This is not a place of loud discovery. It's a place of patient questions. And in the deepest chamber, you find something stranger still. Machines. Wires. Not out of place, almost camouflaged in their stillness. A quiet experiment is underway. Because caves are not only record keepers. They are also portals into physics too delicate for the surface world. This chamber is part of an underground observatory, a place where scientists study neutrinos, those tiny, ghost-like particles that pass through everything and everyone, unnoticed. On the surface, they are drowned in noise. Sunlight. Cosmic rays. Static. But here, buried beneath hundreds of meters of solid rock, the interference fades. Silence becomes a tool. Deep beneath Italy's mountains lies the Gran Sasso Laboratory, nestled inside the rock like a hidden mind. In Japan, the Kamioka Observatory floats in perfect darkness, suspended in purified water. In South Dakota, a mile underground, the Sanford Underground Lab listens to particles from the birth of the universe. All these places have one thing in common: they are caves. The earth protects them, shields them, cradles them. And in return, these caves allow us to study the invisible, to peer into the heart of matter, time, and the universe itself. You lean against a cool wall and close your eyes. In this silence, even thinking feels louder. But now, imagine listening not just for echoes, but for the birthplace of stars. Imagine hearing the soft tick of radioactive decay in ancient rock. Or the sigh of air trapped 100,000 years ago, suddenly released by a core sample. These things happen here. In the Lechuguilla cave in New Mexico, researchers have found bacteria isolated for millions of years, untouched by antibiotics or sunlight. In other caves, they've found viruses frozen in ancient bat guano, preserving genetic records like biological fossils. Even dark matter, the mysterious invisible substance that makes up most of the universe, is being hunted in these spaces. Not with explosions, but with silence. With sensors cooled to near absolute zero. With stone shielding the noise of the cosmos. The cave, you realize, is not just passive. It is active stillness. Its silence is not emptiness. It is the foundation upon which discovery can rest. You walk past a cluster of measuring instruments, and something catches your eye: a rock core, sliced open and labeled in precise detail. Inside are tiny bands of color, each no thicker than a fingernail. Each one a different year. You run your gaze across them slowly. It feels like flipping through a photo album of the Earth, each stripe a chapter. In one cave, a formation recorded the exact moment of the Younger Dryas, a sudden climate crash that changed the planet 12,800 years ago. In another, thin lines mark the end of the Little Ice Age, when Europe shivered and glaciers crept across villages. These are not stories told by people. These are stories told by stone. You think about how long the cave has watched. It was here before humans. It was here when mammoths walked above, when seas were higher, when deserts were green. It has heard languages now extinct. It has felt the ground shake with ancient quakes. It has swallowed the bones of things that never had names. And it has kept all of it. Without judgment. Without noise. Just holding. You sit down, finally. Your breath steadies. The cave no longer feels cold. Just quiet. Just kind. You begin to realize, this place does not shout its knowledge. It offers it, slowly, to those who are willing to stay. You don't need to be a scientist to learn here. You just need to be still. To observe. To listen. This is not a museum. Not a monument. This is the Earth's own memory palace. A library with no walls. A telescope turned inward. A cradle of what came before. And what may still come again. You breathe out, and the air carries it gently away. No rush. No echo. Just presence. The cave listens. And in its stillness, the story continues. One flicker of a torch. And the walls awaken in gold and shadow. But the cave itself forgets light quickly. It returns to darkness without regret. You turn on your headlamp, and the cave blinks. Not with eyes, but with surface. The stone walls shimmer in amber hues, like memories exposed too suddenly. Light reveals everything, but here, everything prefers to stay hidden. The beams stretch forward and then fade, swallowed gently by the dark, like it never happened. This is a place that forgets light. The moment you switch it off, it's gone. As if it never existed. The cave doesn't store it, doesn't remember it, doesn't reflect it back. Darkness isn't just the absence of light, it's its own presence here. Full. Whole. Undisturbed. Above ground, light is ordinary. It slips through leaves, dances on water, floods through windows without being asked. But here, in the deep, light feels foreign. Loud. Temporary. Out of place. Like a visitor that never quite belongs. Your eyes try to adjust, but they don't. Not fully. Even after minutes, the darkness presses in. You wave your hand in front of your face. Nothing. Your body might as well not exist. And slowly, your mind begins to feel it, not fear, but drift. You start to unhook from the visual world. From color. From form. From direction. This is the truth of the cave. You don't see it. You feel it. In the surface world, light gives us everything. It powers photosynthesis. It fuels vision. It shapes sleep, thought, rhythm. Light tells us what time it is. What season. What mood. But in caves, those rules dissolve. There is no dawn here. No golden hour. No soft blue before sleep. Just always. And that always is dark. You begin to notice how your body changes in this stillness. Without light, your circadian rhythm falters. Your brain begins to lose track of time. Hours blur. Minutes stretch. In long enough stays, your core temperature drops. Your metabolism slows. Even your dreams begin to shift. In scientific experiments, volunteers placed in deep caves for weeks without clocks or sunlight have lost entire days. Some thought they'd slept for a night when 2 had passed. Others believed it was morning while it was still midnight above. The brain, unanchored from sunlight, drifts into a different pattern. A deeper one. One not based on schedules, but on feelings. Your body becomes the clock. Your breath, the pendulum. You take a few steps forward. Your light brushes over the wall and catches a shape, stalactites glowing gold for a second, then fading back to shadow. You see them. And then you don't. The cave offers its beauty in flickers. It never stays open. The walls don't reflect light the way mirrors do. They absorb it. Swallow it. Like memory pressed into stone. There's no shimmer here. No glare. Just texture. Just silence that folds around the light like velvet. And when the light is gone, everything feels closer. Not claustrophobic. Just present. The air touches your skin more intentionally. Your heartbeat feels like a voice. Your ears begin to reach in every direction. You start listening not just for sound, but for shape. You begin to see with other senses. This is what life in darkness teaches. That vision is not the only way to know. For creatures who live here, blind fish, translucent salamanders, long-limbed insects, light isn't lost. It was never needed. Evolution simply let go of it. Eyes became burdens. Color became meaningless. These creatures navigate by vibration, by temperature, by the subtle imprint of space. They are not handicapped. They are tuned. And you, briefly, start to understand that tuning. With your light off, your attention sharpens. You notice the shift in air pressure down the tunnel to your left. You sense the curve in the stone without touching it. You feel the cave not as a picture, but as a presence. And suddenly, light seems like a distraction. You sit down and let your lamp flicker off. There's no glow now. No screens. No stars. Only blackness so complete that even imagination struggles to paint over it. This darkness is not empty. It's complete. The world outside tells you that darkness is something to be feared. Something broken. Something in need of a candle or a lamp. But here, darkness is restoration. It is the natural state of things. Before there was fire, before the sun rose on the first day, the universe was dark. And the cave remembers that. Not as loss. But as origin. The more time you spend here, the more your thoughts slow. You think less in words and more in weight. In breath. In rhythm. Your body begins to untangle from its need to perform. You are no longer doing. You are just being. In this absence of light, you feel more visible to yourself. And you wonder, how many feelings, how many thoughts are shaped by brightness? How much of what you chase each day is just a response to glare? To performance? To needing to be seen? Here, there is no audience. Here, nothing watches. And still, everything knows you're here. Even your memories behave differently now. In the cave, your past doesn't play as images. It plays as textures. A soft blanket. A damp night. A warm hand in the dark. The things that live deeper than vision. That's what the cave returns you to. To what is felt, not seen. To what endures, when light becomes a stranger. Your lamp flickers once, then fades. You don't rush to turn it on. You've stopped needing it. You realize something strange, this darkness has not made you blind. It has made you aware. The light you brought here isn't gone. It's simply been redefined. Not something to see with. But something to let go of. And in its absence, you begin to notice a quiet brightness in your mind. Not glare. Not vision. Just presence. You close your eyes, but it doesn't matter. The dark was already there. Not outside, but around you. Holding you, not hiding you. And somewhere in that endless shade, you begin to glow. Time curled up and went to sleep. And the cave became its cradle. Bones linger where breath once lived. Telling stories too patient for sunlight. You take a careful step, your foot brushing across stone that has not shifted in millennia. The air here is different, still, dense, weighted. It carries not scent or sound, but memory. Not the kind you recall, but the kind the earth keeps without asking. In this place, history doesn't fade. It fossilizes. You round a bend, and there, half hidden in the wall, is a curve of something once alive. It is not bone anymore. Not entirely. But not gone either. The cave has claimed it, mineral by mineral, molecule by molecule, until it became part of the rock it rested on. You kneel slowly. The skull is delicate, not yet fully stone. A bat? A rodent? A small bird once drawn in by instinct and lost in the dark. There's no way to be sure. But the silence around it tells you one thing. This place remembers everything. Caves are natural museums, not built by hands or arranged by curators. But far more precise. They do not choose what to keep based on beauty or rarity. They keep what falls into stillness. What finds its way into quiet corners and lies down in the dark. What makes a cave such a perfect preserver is its constancy. The temperature does not change. The humidity hovers steady. There are no scavengers here, no sun to bleach, no storms to scatter. It is not just shelter, it is suspension. A place where time forgets to pass. In some of the world's oldest caves, entire skeletons lie just beneath the surface dust. Intact. Articulated. As if the animal laid down to sleep and never woke. In South Africa's Rising Star Cave, scientists uncovered the bones of a new species of ancient human, Homo naledi, hidden for hundreds of thousands of years in absolute darkness. They walked like us. Thought like us. And chose, somehow, to place their dead here. The cave did not just hide them. It held them. You brush your fingers near the edge of a ribcage, careful not to touch. You don't need contact to feel connection. These remains are not just relics. They are evidence of breath. Of beating hearts. Of creatures whose lives vanished without thunder or flame, but gently. Quietly. Preserved by silence. In some caverns, paleontologists have found the remains of saber-toothed cats, cave bears, woolly rhinos, species from an age when ice ruled the earth and glaciers crept across continents. Some of these animals wandered in chasing prey or shelter. Others fell through sinkholes, trapped in the sudden betrayal of stone beneath their feet. They did not die loudly. They died invisibly, below the notice of time. But now, thousands, sometimes millions, of years later, we find them. Their jaws open mid-breath. Their paws still curled as if in sleep. The cave didn't erase them. It simply paused their story. Even the tiniest of fossils have tales to whisper. Teeth, claws, pollen, spores. In limestone layers, scientists read past climates like pages in a forgotten book. In one formation in Nevada, pollen trapped in cave layers revealed the shifting of forests over 50,000 years. A story not told in bark or roots, but in dust. In stillness. In the Yucatan, deep within underwater caves, divers have found the skulls of early humans submerged in crystal blue chambers, still cradled where they fell before the sea rose to claim them. In these places, past and present share the same breath. You are not just walking through space, you are walking through extinct moments. And those moments never rush to explain themselves. They simply wait for you to notice. You begin to realize, the cave is not only about life. It is also about what remains after life. But not in a way that feels morbid or cold. Here, death is not an end. It's an offering. A fossil is not just what's left behind, it's a translation. A body becoming earth again. A reminder that what we are is always returning to where it came from. You glance up at the walls. Layers upon layers. Each one a former flood. A season of rain. A century of breath. Some layers contain trace fossils, not bones, but footprints, tunnels, impressions. A wing print. A claw mark. A pause captured mid-motion. What tender precision it takes to preserve such moments. To catch an instant in stone. To carry it forward long after the world that made it has moved on. You sit down near a ledge and close your eyes. For a moment, your own breath feels fossilizable. The hush around you gives your body an odd weight, as if you too are being archived. Not as a threat. Not as a fear. But as a comfort. The cave does not erase. It absorbs. It welcomes. You wonder, if something of you were left here, not a bone, not a print, but an intention, would it last? Would the stone remember the shape of your presence? The sound of your thinking? The pulse in your fingertips? You don't need to answer. The cave has already heard the question. In Romania, deep within the Moval cave, life exists in complete separation from the surface. Its ecosystem runs on sulfur, not sunlight. And even here, the fossils tell a story, how life found a way to begin again. How extinction is not always an ending, but a shifting, one form collapsing so that another can emerge. Fossils, then, are not graves. They are bridges. They link what was with what is. They show us that everything is temporary. But nothing is entirely lost. Your lamp casts a soft arc of light now, dim and gold. Across the wall, a faint shape emerges, fingers painted in red ochre. A human hand, from another age, pressed into the rock. Not carved. Not written. Just touched. It's not a fossil in the usual sense. But it is a fossil of presence. Proof that someone stood where you are now. Someone curious. Someone small. Someone who reached out and left the simplest truth behind. I was here. You let the light fade. And in the dark, you think not of bones or skulls, but of stillness. Of how gently a body becomes memory. Of how quiet the earth is when it listens. Of how long it holds on to what matters. The fossils do not speak. They do not need to. Their silence is a story. Still being told in stone. One you are now part of. Just by listening. Beneath the earth, a sky is hidden. Not of light, but of longing. The silence below mirrors the vastness above. Two infinities, folded into one. You lie on your back now, in the deepest chamber you found. The ceiling arches above you like a stone sky. Not blue, not bright, but infinite in its own way. The cave is silent. And still, your thoughts travel outward. Not upward, but beyond. You lie on your back now, in the deepest chamber you found. The ceiling arches above you like a stone sky. Not blue, not bright, but infinite in its own way. The cave is silent. And still, your thoughts travel outward. Not upward, but beyond. What is it about this darkness that reminds you of the stars? Here, beneath miles of earth, where no starlight can reach, the cave still hums with the same energy, the same pull, that lives in galaxies. You feel it not in light, but in shape. In silence. In scale. The way a stalactite points downward like an icicle of time. The way chambers open up suddenly, like unexpected constellations. The way your breath sounds like wind on a forgotten moon. You begin to sense something ancient. Not just age, but origin. The same atoms that formed this cave, the calcium in the walls, the carbon in the stone, were born in the hearts of stars. Exploded into space. Folded into earth. And now. They surround you. They are you. You are lying inside a fallen star's memory. Above ground, we look up for wonder. We peer into the night sky, chasing stories, planets, theories. We name the constellations and send out messages in metal and mathematics. We think space is far away. But down here, in the cool hush of a cave, you realize. You've never left it. The universe is not out there. It's everywhere. Including here, underground, where no telescope looks. Even in the dark, even in the stillness. The universe is still unfolding. Consider this, the cave has gravity. It pulls you inward. Down. Into its own orbit. A kind of subterranean cosmos. And your body, small and quiet, becomes a vessel, a satellite of thought drifting through mineral galaxies. Some physicists believe that time moves differently near great masses. That gravity bends not just space, but the tick of a clock. Here in the cave, it feels true. Time does stretch. It loosens. You could be here for minutes or hours, and your body would forget how to tell the difference. This place, like space, unwinds time. And isn't that what sleep is, too? A slipping. A letting go. A soft unraveling of one moment into the next. You remember how stars form, from gas and gravity. From collapse and heat. From stillness suddenly set in motion. And you realize, this cave is not so different. It, too, formed from pressure. From chemistry. From invisible forces meeting deep inside the earth. Its birth was violent, rushing water, shifting plates, collapsing stone, but now it has settled. Now it holds you like the arms of a sleeping star. And just like the night sky, it makes you feel small. But not in a way that frightens you. In a way that frees you. You close your eyes, and images rise. Not memories, but echoes. Not stories, but shapes. The cave begins to feel less like a place. And more like a dream the earth is having. A dream where time curls in on itself. Where darkness is not the end, but the beginning. A dream where the stars have fallen inward. To rest beneath the soil. And here you are, lying quietly inside one. Above you, a drop falls from a stalactite. It hits a pool with a sound like a thought finishing itself. That sound has been happening for centuries. It will happen long after you're gone. In that moment, you understand something deeper. The cave and the cosmos are not opposites. They are reflections. One made of light. One made of shadow. Both holding time. Both cradling silence. Both teaching you to listen. Scientists who study dark matter bury their instruments deep underground to escape cosmic noise. And still, the cave offers clues. Particles from space, filtered by rock, leave behind traces on detectors. The universe leaves fingerprints in the stone. And so, even here, miles below the sky, the stars still touch you. Not as light. But as data. As dust. As presence. You rise slowly. Not to leave. Just to feel gravity again. To notice your own weight. Your hands trail the wall. Your breath is slow. You've forgotten what time it is. But something inside you has aligned. Like a compass resetting. Like a tide receding after an invisible moon. You have not escaped the world above. You have simply remembered a part of it. That lies within you. The part that was always stardust. The part that still listens for silence. The part that dreams, even in the dark. When ancient humans painted on cave walls, they didn't draw the sun. They drew animals. Spirits. Symbols. And in one chamber in France, they drew a star. Not because they saw it. But because they remembered it. The cave, then, was not just shelter. It was sky turned inside out. A chapel for darkness. A temple for time. And you, even now, are its final visitor. You sit one last time and turn off your light. The darkness returns, but it does not close. It opens. It opens into something vast and unspoken. Not a hole. Not an absence. But a presence so full, it feels like sky. You lie in the cave's breath. The heartbeat of earth beneath your back. And somewhere, above the soil and stone, the stars go on shining. But now you know. They shine here, too. In a world with no sunlight. Life learns to survive on almost nothing. Fungi stretch like ghost roots, blind beetles scrape for crumbs. And every movement is guided by hunger. Not desperation, but quiet design. You step softly now. Not because the floor is fragile, but because the silence here asks for care. You are surrounded by walls that have grown slowly, minerals folding upon minerals, but what you feel is something less visible, something pulling, drawing inward. It isn't sound. It isn't motion. It's hunger. Not the kind you know. Not the sudden ache for food, or the craving that rises and vanishes in the space of a meal. This hunger is older. It moves through the air like scent. It hums in the background of every living thing inside the cave. Because here, where sunlight never touches, life is shaped not by abundance, but by the near-complete absence of it. You stand in a world where survival is a quiet art. A pale beetle scuttles across the stone in front of you, blind and delicate. It does not rush. Its movements are slow, deliberate. Every step is a calculation. There is no room for waste here, not in energy, not in intention. It finds its way through a scent trail left by a bat's droppings. That small trace of organic matter might be its only meal for days. But it does not panic. It does not hoard. It simply knows how to wait. That is what life does here. It waits. It listens. It moves only when it must. You kneel by a patch of floor where something strange spreads out like lace, thin, branching, pale as breath. Fungal filaments stretch through the rock, feeding on old leaves dropped from far above. They carry nutrients like messages. They map the cave like veins. This is not a forest. But it is alive. You think of how, above ground, energy begins with the sun. Plants drink light, animals eat plants, and everything that grows is shaped by fire in the sky. But here, the sun has no voice. So life invents another way. Some creatures feed on what falls, a leaf, a feather, a sliver of guano. Others go deeper. They feed on stone itself, or the sulfur hidden within it. Microbes live off the chemicals in dripping water. They don't just adapt to the cave, they complete it. They close the loop. They make a world out of nearly nothing. You walk deeper. The air feels still, but not empty. Beneath the surface, thousands of tiny lives are unfolding. Slowly. Carefully. You pass a spider hanging motionless in a crack. It hasn't moved in hours. Maybe days. Its web is not sprawling. It is small, efficient. In this world, even a single insect caught is enough to live on for weeks. The spider knows this. So it does not rush. It does not waste. Even hunger here has rhythm. You place your hand against the wall, feeling the coolness of the stone. You wonder how long it has been since a meal passed this way. How long since a bat flew through this tunnel, or a new droplet of nutrient-rich water fell. And still, life holds on. There is a principle here, one you don't often hear spoken above ground. Enough is enough. And sometimes, less is better. Not in theory. In practice. In survival. In every bone and movement of every creature down here. The longer you stay, the more you feel the hunger shift. It's no longer about food. It becomes something else, something inside you. A reaching. A tuning. You begin to feel what the cave has always known, that hunger is not a flaw. It's a compass. It tells the beetle when to move. It tells the microbe where to grow. It tells the cave where to open. Without hunger, nothing would seek. Nothing would stretch. Nothing would grow. In a distant corner of the cave, you find a scatter of insect wings. They shine like glass in the dim light. No body remains, only the fragments too hard to eat. Everything else has been taken, transformed, absorbed. Even the bones of small things are rarely wasted. What you see as leftovers, the cave sees as possibility. You crouch near the wings and run your fingers beside them. You feel the smooth edge where a beetle's jaw might have scraped. The hunger that shaped this is not cruel. It is efficient. Quiet. Intentional. The cave has no place for gluttony. But it has endless space for grace. You remember reading about humans who lived in caves. Not just visited them, but slept here. Ate here. Waited out storms and winters in chambers like this one. You wonder what they felt. Did they recognize this rhythm? Did they see the same slow exchange? You think they must have. Because even now, in your modern body, in your modern thoughts, you feel it too. A hum beneath hunger. A balance beneath need. You are part of it, whether you choose to admit it or not. Hunger, you realize, is not always about lack. Sometimes it's about connection. To sense what you need is to remember that you are not separate. You are part of the cave's story, briefly, gently, humbly. You don't take much. You don't leave much. But you were here. And the cave remembers. Not in carvings. Not in words. But in the heat you left in the air. In the breath you gave back to the stone. You begin the slow return. Your footsteps are light now, not from caution, but respect. You've witnessed something rare, a world that survives not by plenty, but by grace. A world that lives on less, and thrives because of it. And now, that lesson travels with you. A hunger not to consume, but to understand. You step softly from the hollow. Behind you, the hunger still hums. Not as a need, but as a thread. Pulling all things gently toward enough.